Hey everyone, have you noticed how Korean movies have been making waves around the world lately? Just think about Bong Joon-ho's 2019 film Parasite, which won over 200 awards worldwide, including the Palme d'Or at Cannes. And then there's Squid Game, directed by Hwang Dong-hyuk, which became a global sensation as a Netflix original in 2021. Oh, and we can't forget the incredible impact of K-pop, with artists like BTS and Blackpink taking the world by storm. This whole Korean wave, or Hallyu, has really put Korean culture in the spotlight. And it's just amazing to see people all over the world enjoying it. But there's an important legal story behind all this cultural success. Back in 1996, South Korea's Constitutional Court made a groundbreaking decision by declaring the Film Act unconstitutional. This law allowed a quasi-governmental organization to censor movies and performing arts. Thanks to this decision, creative freedom got a huge boost in South Korea. Before this ruling, every movie had to go through a censorship procedure before being released to the public. If they didn't get approved, they couldn't be shown at all. Even though freedom of expression was guaranteed by the Constitution, censorship was still the norm under the excuse of protecting public morals and social order. This kind of censorship actually started back in 1962 during the Park Chung-hee administration, which came into power after a military coup. And if we go even further back, during the Japanese colonial period in the early 20th century, censorship was widespread too. In the early 1990s, several filmmakers and directors started challenging the constitutionality of this prior screening process. The government argued that official film censorship had been abolished in 1984 and that a civilian organization ran the current system. But the Constitutional Court didn't buy that argument. Even though the organization seemed to be independent, it was still supported by the government. So the court decided it was a form of censorship prohibited by the Constitution. And it wasn't just movies that got censored back then. In the 1970s, the government cracked down on music too, banning hundreds of Korean and foreign songs for reasons that seem pretty ridiculous today. For example, the song "To a Happy Country" was banned just because it implied that Korea, under a military dictatorship, might not be seen as a happy place. Another song, "Morning Dew," was banned because it mentioned the red sun, which could remind North Korea's communist strongmen. These examples of censorship show just how strict things were back then, but they also highlight how far Koreans have come. The democratization of South Korea, especially after the June Democratic Uprising in 1987, was a major turning point for freedom of expression, the rule of law, and human rights. In June 1987, about 500,000 people took part in anti-government demonstrations, and eventually, the authoritarian government led by former General Chun Doo-hwan had to give in to the people's demands. Thanks to the power of the people, a new, more democratic constitution was adopted. As part of that constitution, the Constitutional Court of Korea was born. This court has made a series of remarkable rulings, striking down numerous laws and government practices that suppress the fundamental rights and freedoms of the Korean people. In 1996, after striking down the Film Act, the Constitutional Court also declared the Record and Video Act unconstitutional just a few weeks later. These rulings had a huge impact on the arts. The incredible success of K-pop and Korean cinema today can be directly linked to these legal changes. The progress from strict censorship to today's freedom is a testament to the resilience and creativity of Korean artists and the richness of Korean culture. Before we go any further, let me introduce myself. I'm a law professor based in Seoul, and I've been running a YouTube channel for a while now, mostly explaining American law and legal culture to Korean speakers. But today, I'm super excited to launch this new channel, which is all about sharing insights on Korean law and society with an international audience. As a law and society scholar, I'm really interested in exposing the gaps between theory and practice in the law. My main approach is always to look at law from a cultural perspective. I want to tell you about Korean society and its dynamic culture through the lens of law. Korea's economic growth, often called a miracle, has made it a model for many developing countries. But the story doesn't end there. It's still unfolding today. Movies like Parasite explore important social issues and inequality, and I want to use this channel to share my analysis of news media coverage of Korean law and society. I'll also try to provide simple explanations of Korean laws and the changes that come from court rulings, particularly those of the Constitutional Court. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you're curious about Korean society and the law, please subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you think. See you next time. Bye-bye.